Hi, we're the multi-layer display team here presenting the multi-layer display that we designed for the cockpit of GE airplanes. And this group is Julie Chen, Rachel Green, Elizabeth Kim, Shane Lessa, and I'm Leslie Shapiro. Our goal as a team is to streamline the in-flight processes that a pilot has to go through when they're during different stages of the flight, when they're taking off, when they're in flight, when they're landing, and make the interface a lot more usable, which has a number of advantages, including environmental, training time, and even for the pilots and giving them more to do while they're flying, more ability to be productive and stay engaged in their flight. The main concept of our design is that it is one cohesive display, which means that the entire front screen of the cockpit above the control panel is actually just one big display screen. In our design, we've eliminated the need for a window because of many of the features that we have in our display. The first of which is a real-time video feed with dynamic data overlay. Which means that the screen is actually displaying real-time video of what's going on in front of the plane, much like a window would, except this window has so much more use, so much more flexibility, and so much more potential than just a window. That comes in with the dynamic data overlay. So what we've actually designed is a system where there are a series of overlays of different sorts of information, different kinds of information, as you can see in this photo on this slide. In the background, we have the real-time vision in place of the windshield. And then these other pieces of information, it looks like a lot when it's on the screen right here, but actually they're each customizable layers so that the pilot and the co-pilot can choose which information they need to see at certain times of the flight. And we're actually trying to really maximize what this can be used for and the potential of this by putting on a lot of different kinds of information that normally are scattered about the cockpit in different places. And we're really trying to make it easier for the pilots to navigate and to do what they need to do. There's also the ability to hide unnecessary gauges and data, and the ability to make them visible or even change the opacity on them. This is good because it integrates the different flight screens into one single unit where everything is available, one single screen where everything is available. It allows the pilots to look at the certain data that's important, and it highlights that data and hides the information that's extraneous during certain times of the flight. Information that you don't need in flight, but you may need during liftoff, such as information about landing gear. All of that can be displayed at certain times and removed at other times to avoid visual clutter. And in case of system failure, the display screen can be turned off, which would leave a transparent window. That would just be like the normal windshield. Because of new display technology, that is possible to just turn a window into a real screen. So that seems like something that could be really powerful when implemented in a cockpit of an airplane. The other aspect to this is the digital interface, which allows for data analysis and a display that's driven by an operating system, which has a number of advantages. And then it's software-based, and it can just be coded and recoded to solve problems, to be customized, and to be updated, instead of having to redo the whole unit or replace hardware. It's all just in the coding. Another advantage is because it's a digital system, there can be a lot of visual and auditory feedback, confirmations and error indications of commands the pilots have done, things that are happening around the plane and inside the plane. All that can be made extremely clear to the pilot so that they have that information when they need it, as well as the rest of the crew of the plane can be included in that. And this is really integrated into this system that we've designed, and hopefully will be a very powerful component of it. As for the actual user interface of the design, this was a really central part of why we wanted to choose this digital screen, because working with the digital screen, especially in tandem with the control panel group, which is separate, creates a much more usable, intuitive interface for pilots, which is also advantageous because it lowers training time, training costs, and it also just allows them to much easier read and manipulate the data on screen that they need during the flight. Again, the current system requires a lot of training and a lot of practice in the cockpit, and hopefully our system would be much more intuitive to pilots, so that not only would fewer hours of training be required for each pilot, but it would be easier for them to use even after they're trained. A really unique aspect of our design, actually, which I haven't gone into yet, is the 360-degree scroll view, which has an option to view the external environment in three-dimensional space. This is really important in weather, when you're flying over clouds, through storms, because it allows the pilots to manipulate the view of the airplane. This is another advantage of not having the windshield just be a windshield and be an actual screen, because this screen can show different views. There can be cameras mounted on the different sides of the plane, so they can actually move the window. Excuse me. They can actually move the screen to view under the plane, such as when they're taxiing in the airport and need to see the lanes or the space numbers that are painted on the ground. They can just move the view to be able to see those perfectly. They can move the view to be able to see things that are behind them or in front of them, even above them, and directly below them. And this is all integrated in with, again, the user interface, to make it really clear for pilots to be able to do this and to be able to see the different angles of what's going on around them. And a really important aspect of our design is the eco-friendly aspect, which is, of course, very critical in the modern day. When you're designing anything, you want to design it efficient, sustainable, resource conservative, which is good both for the company and for the world. So one aspect of this is that the screen costs means less manufacturing costs and materials for the different components of what the screen's replacing. Another thing we learned was that the light bulbs are actually the most replaced item in the cockpit, and the screen eliminates the need to replace light bulbs behind the lights of the different dials and that sort of thing. Digital software, again, can be easily updated. You don't need to replace the hardware. And there's an option in this display for flight path optimization. And that's, again, that goes in the overlay. The people can really can see the flight path overlaid, make changes to it, have it optimized so that they can conserve their fuel, maximize their efficiency, minimize flight time for the customers. So this display really does have a potential in that regard. So that's our presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Again, this was the multi-layer display group.